In today's weekly recap, we're going to look at a card that has made some killer gains on eBay lately, GameStop's new move into the sports card market, some upcoming releases, some player investing advice, and more. Then we're going to give away some cards at the end. But first, here's the intro. Before we dive into the headlines and happenings this week, I do want to call out, next week I have 2 different videos coming out in which I'm breaking cards, and usually those videos don't necessarily do as well, but I'm looking at 2 sets that I think are pretty good values right now, and full disclosure, I think I hit probably the best card in one of the sets. It was a 1 of 1, and would love to get some eyeballs on that video. That was cool. And now let's look at the different stories. We published quite a few this week, and I'm going to look at some of the bigger ones, but I do encourage you to go to cardlines.com, as always, to read any stories that pique your interest here, or just to check out everything else we have coming up next week. So this is the card I mentioned earlier. It is with the Menendez brothers, Lyle and Eric Menendez. This is the Mark Jackson 1990s Hoops card, and the brothers, who are the killers, are back here. Of course, there's now like a true crime documentary on Netflix about the brothers, so this card, which pictures them in the background, has definitely gained quite a bit of value. They're selling for $15 to $20 now, and it's a card that should definitely not be worth that much, but just because of their place in the, the background of the card on the sideline, it has gained quite a bit of value. So it's not the only example here of cards with different celebrities photo bombing essentially in the background, gaining value, but here's a look at the graded prices, by the way. Another great example, it's probably in this article, actually don't see it here, but there was a card, the John Morant Chronicles rookie card that's just like the straight up Panini card, has Young Dolph in the background. I probably said his name wrong, but that's I think what his name is. And it also has Michael Orr's parents in the background. That card is worth quite a bit as well, because I think Young Dolph is dead. R.I.P. Young Dolph. I'm sure you're incredibly talented musically. GameStop is making a move to get into the grading space. I talked about this a little bit last week, but it makes so much sense. There's so much parallel running between like gaming culture and like sports card culture, both super nerdy, both things that I love dearly. So now you have prices here, $16 for TCG submissions, $20 for like sports cards. That's going to be groups sent out, group PSA grade sent out for PSA. If you get a grade that raises the value of your card, you will have to be upcharged for it, just like normally when submitting to PSA. Quite often they ask for an upcharge. But it's just, this article not only looks at their new grading, but everything else that they've been doing. For example, they have these repacks, and I talked about all this stuff last week, so I'm not going to rehash anything particularly, but the big update is we actually do have pricing. So it looks like it's going to be $20 for standard grading submissions. This is an article that I want to introduce, but I do want you to go read it yourself. It's from Mike, and it's a memoir of sorts, a veteran collector's observations after attending a small local card show. I really thought this was a very great piece. Mike went to a card show, and he has good and bad observations just about the state of the industry. And I think all of this is very, very smart. I read this, and I was like, wow, how introspective. Like, I feel like I've been doing sports cards for a while because I started in like 2004. And he's got me beat, and there's just a lot to learn from it. So I really appreciated the insight and learning from a veteran collector. I talked about this one some last week too, so I'm just going to go over it pretty quickly. But Topps Logo Fractor Baseball has been a really hot new release, and the Logo Fractor cards themselves are really popular. I think they're going to be a really good long-term hold just because the population's nowhere near the incredibly overprinted Topps Chrome set. So this is what the Logo Fractors look like. You can tell you have the MLB logo in the background. They're really, really nice looking cards, and they're definitely going to be pretty low. The big call to action that I want to make this week is that we are breaking them. So if you're interested in getting in on breaks, you just go to the breaks up here where I just clicked, and then it is going to link you to our eBay. You pick whichever team that you want to bid on. So if I want the Orioles and I'm going to chase Jackson Holiday, then I'm going to bid on this one, then I'll get the Orioles. Yesterday, the Topps Mercury Wembanyama set released, and I really thought about entering. Like, I filled in all my credit card info, and then my mouse was hovering above the confirm button, and I was like, do I really want to commit to pay $8,000 for a set? And the number one question that was running through my mind was this one. Topps doesn't even have the NBA license, and that has not stopped them from cranking out some Wembanyama autographs. They're putting him in every set possible. He's even in Topps baseball. And to be fair, the obvious pushback is, yeah, he would have way more autographs if he was signing for Panini just traditionally, because Panini's definitely cranking out as many sets as possible, so the guys that did sign for Panini have tons of autographs. But Topps definitely hasn't slouched on cranking out Wembanyama cards, and I had not read this article at the time. I hadn't even seen this article at the time, full disclosure, when I was looking at buying the Mercury, and here's examples of what the Mercury looks like. But with the Mercury, I think there's about 2,100 boxes in production, and each one of them has 2 to 3 autographs, so they're just adding another 6,000 high-end Wembanyama autographs into the circulation pot right now, and I don't know that it's going to stop. They've done so many of these autographs that you just can't help but wonder if they've overprinted, particularly with these unlicensed cards. I'm not going to answer that question though, because I think this is such a good article. I want you to go read it yourself, and I wouldn't do it justice just summarizing it. So let me know what you think in the video below. Do you think Wembanyama autographs are being overprinted? And then, as always, we give away a blaster box of cards every week to one subscriber just to thank you guys for the support. This week's winner is Out of Chaos. Out of Chaos, you might be a musician. Super duper cool. Just send me an email sometime before next Friday and let me know what brand. Just send me an email before next Friday, which is the 18th, I believe. Let me know what your favorite sport to collect is and your mailing address, and I will send you a box of cards. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for watching another video. I will see you next week.